Ladies and gentlemen, today is April 16th, 2020. It is 10:13 a.m. in Washington State. I am Master THôNG LAI. I would like to extend my warmest greeting to all the people in the country and overseas. This morning, there are many emails from Vietnam, from the United States and around the world that sent to me asking me about the situation of U.S. President Donald Trump has cut about $450 million from the World Health Organization, WHO, and he has been attacked by people in the United States, including the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and multi-billionaire Bill Gates, who spoke out against the decision to cut the budget of the WHO. These emails were asking me if President Trump's action were right or wrong. I would like to invite you to follow these emails sent to me during the critical time of the United States because of the outbreak of the pandemic. In New York City, the outbreak is at its peak. The number of deaths in the United States is around 30,000, and the number of infections continues to increase to 600,000 or 700,000. Please follow my answer. I will now read the letter. Dear Venerable THôNG LAI, we are Buddhist followers who are living in the United States. We follow sources on U.S. television network such as Fox and CNN broadcasting the talks of Congresswoman Nancy and her counter against President Donald Trump's decision to cut $450 million from the WHO. The famous billionaire Bill Gates was in it as well. Bill Gates strongly condemned President Trump from cutting this funding will be a big mistake and harmful to many Americans who are affected by the coronavirus in the United States. Could you please tell us your opinion on the U.S. President's $450 million budget cut from the World Health Organization, WHO. The CEO of the WHO has made a lot of wrong issues. We wish you great health. Ladies and gentlemen, the two people who are most against the President of the United States on cutting funds are the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and billionaire Bill Gates. I want to make this clear. Why did the President decide to cut the funding for the World Health Organization? He wouldn't cut off the aid for the WHO if this organization protects the health of 100 and dozens of countries in the world. To understand, we must go back to the timeline of this outbreak. On January 21, 2020, Dr. Nguyen Lang worked with 8 other Chinese doctors in the W4 lab located in Wuhan City. Dr. Li had a short clip to warn the world to be concerned about a viral leakage at the P4 Wuhan laboratory. This virus made a lot of people in this city infected. Dr. Li also stated that the virus ability to spread was not like the bird flu. This virus would spread from human to human rather than from animal to human. Because of this proclamation, Dr. Nguyen Lang was arrested along with his 8 colleagues. As you remember, soon after Dr. Li made that important announcement, a week after that, On January 27, 2020, President Trump issued a decree to ban all Chinese who were residing in China from entering the United States. On January 27, 2020, a week after hearing the speech from Chinese physician Liaoning from P4 Wuhan laboratory, the President of the United States made a decision to ban Chinese citizens from entering the United States for any reason. He closed the borders with Chinese communists. Immediately, Nancy, the House of Speaker, and Mr. Bill Gates spoke out to condemn President Trump for racial discrimination, especially to Chinese people. And Mr. Bill Gates, after visiting Xi Jinping, donated a fund of $100 million to support Xi Jinping. You should ask why President Trump cut the $450 million fund for the WHO for Mr. Tedros, because Tedros had received bribery from Xi Jinping. It is well known that the director of WHO does not put the world health interests first, but he puts his personal interests first. The United States is a country that donates $450 million a year to care for the health around the world. $450 million is a very large amount of money for over hundreds of countries, while the Chinese communists donate only 5 to 10 million. However, the director of the WHO is siding with the Chinese communists and covering up whatever the Chinese wanted. As you can see clearly, the United States never gave bribes to the director of the World Health Organization. Only Xi Jinping used the money to bribe people with position of authority who do not put the interests of the people above their personal benefits. Take a look at Vietnam and you will see the United States funded $37 million to aid Vietnam to fight the pandemic. They did not put this money into the pockets of Nguyen Phu Trong and Nguyen Phu because the United States works transparently. It has been controlled by the Congress and the House of National Assembly under the supervision of congressmen with legislative and judicial executive. The United States is a multi-party government. The Chinese communists only need to control the corrupted Vietnam's leaders, such as Trung Lu and Nguyen Phu. They only have to spend a few $1 million to control Vietnam's top leaders and make Vietnam become a colony of China. This is the way the Chinese worked for the past thousands of years. Before 1975, the Vietnamese Chinese were living in Trang Long district. Any new district chief in District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, to District 10 and 11, who just took the position and refused to accept the gold and silver bribe from the Vietnamese Chinese, not the communists. Chinese, they would prepare their belongings to go to war for not taking bribes. That was before 1975. Nowadays, the Chinese communist does not work with subordinates. Instead, they just need to bribe Nguyen Phu Trong, Nguyen Phu, and Nguyen Kim Ngang. Then the Chinese ship will be all owned. Then the Chinese ship will all own Vietnam. It costs only a few small amount compared to bringing troops to Vietnam, which costs 100 times more. This is the way Xi Jinping and his administration work. They only need to buy off Nguyen Phu Trong, Nguyen Phu, and Nguyen Kim Ngang, and they already own Vietnam. And these three leaders worked entirely for the interests of Chinese communists, not for the 95 million Vietnamese people. That is the point that you have to see clearly. We cut off the aid for the communists by not sending money back to the country. Just like the action of President Donald Trump cutting aid to the WHO. We should see the actions of the President of the United States putting the interests of Americans first. I want to return back to the point of the first week of February, which is from February 1st to February 17th, when Taiwan spoke on the World Health Organization forum that the Chinese Communist Party was hiding the number of people infected with the coronavirus Wuhan, which had reached tens of thousands of people in reality, where the official report was showing only a few hundred. President Tsai Ing-wen gave a speech criticizing the World Health Organization, and the director, Trudeau's, removed Taiwan from being a member of the WHO because Taiwan called him as Xi Jinping's henchman. Taiwan also pointed out that Trudeau was covering up the truth about this pandemic. As you can see, the World Health Organization delayed the response for a week. If Trudeau declared the urgencies of the pandemic as soon as Dr. Li Wenliang informed about the leakage of the coronavirus from the P4 laboratory in that very week, the pandemic would not affect billions of people. Only if Trudeau was to concur with the President of the United States to declare that the pandemic was raging, to warn over 190 countries that was active members of the WHO so they can activate the traveling protocols during the pandemic, banning the travel a week earlier than the U.S. President Donald Trump. On the 27th, after receiving information from Taiwan and from the physician Li, the damage would be so much less. Because President Trump closed the borders with China, Trudeau's Nancy Pelosi and Bill Gates condemned President Donald Trump as a discriminator because the infection was nothing. The Chinese communists bribed the director of the World Health Organization with millions of dollars. This director only works for Chinese communists, not for the world's health. According to the U.S. CDC statistic, if he issues the notice a week earlier, tens of thousands of New Yorkers would not be dead. Hundreds and thousands of people would not get infected. You can do a Google search to see the number of deaths in a week in New York. Just 1 week earlier, so many lives in the world can be saved. So I strongly condemn the statement from Nancy Pelosi, the U.S. Speaker of the House. She announced that she would do everything she could to persuade the Congress to reapprove the budget of $450 million to the World Health Organization, against the President of the United States' will. It is clear that she only placed the interests of the Democratic Party above the American. She raised the issue because she wants the Democratic Party to control the White House in the upcoming election in November. And we can clearly see that the World Health Organization hid the pandemic instead of giving out notice. And at that time, Taiwan was an observing member of the health organization. When President Tsai Ing-wen denounced that concealment by the World Health Organization, the director had eliminated Taiwan from the observer's status from the World Health Organization. Because of his protection for Xi Jinping and the act of covering up the notice, Trudeau has caused over 1 million people to be infected worldwide, and many people have died. This is a crime of genocide, the people of the world, and the crime of humanity. The U.S. is not the only country that cut off the funding, but so has Great Britain, who also cut $200 million from the WHO. The two countries had contributed the most in the world for the WHO are the United States and the United Kingdom. Immediately, Bill Gates will give his $150 million to the WHO. To further understand his motives, you have to go back a month. I had a talk regarding Bill Gates, good or bad. Shortly after Dr. Li Wenliang announced the coronavirus had leaked from the P4 laboratory in Wuhan, Bill Gates gave Chinese communists $100 million. Prior to this event, Bill Gates and 10 other wealthy CEOs were doing business with the Chinese. They knew something in January, and they all resigned simultaneously. At the time, everyone thought that Bill Gates was a good person, but I questioned his business with the Chinese communists. Bill Gates puts his personal benefits above the health and lives of the American people. Therefore, he was against Donald Trump and also sided with Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, criticizing President Trump not to allow Chinese communists to go to the U.S. They both called President Trump racist and violating human rights. And dozens of flights flew from Wuhan to New York City, and New York became a pandemic center. The announcement was not timely. A week later, and the number of deaths in New York City has reached tens of thousands, and the number of infections is over 100,000. So the act of Bill Gates and the Speaker of the House were putting personal interests above the lives of the people of the United States and humanity around the world. Therefore, I'm extremely against their acts. Just as we know in Vietnam, some people use their money to contribute rice to save hunger. They made packages of necessities for the poor people. Then the Vietnamese communists still suppressed and confiscated these gift packages and will send money back to these packages. This action is the action of Nancy Pelosi and Bill Gates. So we don't support their evil acts because we know that money doesn't reach the people. In addition, we know the director of the World Health Organization was a former Communist Party member before he was elected and became the director of the WHO. I am not surprised to know about his behavior. All the members of the Communist Party who served the Communist Party also put their personal interests above the people, above those of the people and humanity. So you have to see one point. The President of the United States did a great job. Let's look at President Tsai Ing-wen, who is the president of a country that has a total output on par with Chinese communists. Taiwan's per income is very high, ranking first or second in Southeast Asia. Taiwan is in the top countries, earning between 30 to 40 thousands of dollars a year. Tsai Ing-wen has a very simple life. She lives in a very modest house and cooks for herself. Tsai Ing-wen is a lady who cannot bribe with money. She puts the interests of the Taiwanese people first, so the Chinese communists cannot bribe her. If it was doable, they would have already done it. Chiang Kai-shek is the leader of China's Nationalist Party that governed the mainland of China. Once Mao Zedong did the coup to take over the regime, Chiang Kai-shek had fled to the inland of Taiwan. And now the president of the Nationalist Party of Taiwan is also bribed by Xi Jinping. Ever since Tsai Ing-wen inaugurated, her tendency is to serve the Taiwanese, not the Chinese communists. Back to the director of WHO. Mr. Trudeau should have made the announcements just 1 week earlier. He declared that there was no spread from the coronavirus between human to human, but only from animals to human. If he made the announcement, the world would be well prepared. Just declare a week in advance, the number of fatalities in the world would be reduced by 90%, and there would be very few casualties. It was so obvious about the collaboration between Mr. Trudeau and Xi Jinping to hide the Wuhan coronavirus. And you can see clearly after President Trump received the report from the physician LAI on January 21st, he closed the U.S. borders gates with China communists a week after that. Immediately, Bill Gates and Nancy Pelosi criticized and demanded that President Trump should not have closed the U.S. border gates because of This is because of discrimination. Meanwhile, dozens of flights brought infected people from Wuhan city to New York airport, and this city is now the center of the pandemic. Can you do the math to see how many deaths in a week has happened in this city? Only if Mr. Trudeau said that there was a pandemic spreading globally, President Tsai Ing-wen warned the WHO that there would be a global spread if they did not act immediately. In response, Trudeau removed Taiwan from the WHO. In a previous talk, I mentioned Bill Gates and 10 CEOs of the United States also resigning during the same period of time. You can review my talk because today I do not have time. Bill Gates and 10 CEOs of the United States were the capitalists who put their personal interests above the lives of the people of the United States. The Democratic Speaker of the House also put the winning and losing the election in their tenure in November. And she forgot the lives of the American people. For a long time, I had rarely talked about American political issues. But now that I live in the United States since 1980 till now, which is longer than the time I lived in Vietnam, I am a U.S. citizen, and I am a spiritual leader in the United States. I am in debt to the United States, so I have to speak up about Nancy Pelosi and Bill Gates being wrong to defeat President Trump. President Trump was absolutely right to cut the aids for a communist minion. President Donald Trump became a U.S. president not because of his personal benefit. He gave away all his salary. He works night and day just to protect the interests of the United States. There were many Democratic billionaires who previously opposed President Donald Trump, now returned to support him. And these billionaires did better than Bill Gates, even though Bill Gates is one of the richest people in the world. However, he is still doing business with Chinese communists for his own personal benefits without serving the interests of the American people. He did not consider American lives to be important. This is the reason I have to show you clearly the difference of 1 week can be. The death rate in New York City increased exponentially. This is the reason the United States and United Kingdom decided to hold off the funding for a Chinese communist henchman. The Chinese communists take advantage of this organization to manipulate the world. The duty of the World Health Organization is to announce all the plague that they know as soon as their team of nurses and doctors who works for the organizations report it. During that time, the United States asked China to have their CDC white coat doctors to help the situation of the outbreak in Wuhan. It was Trudeau and Xi Jinping who said it was unnecessary because the epidemic was not dangerous and it does not spread out. Because of these two issues, the United States cut $450 million, and the United Kingdom also followed with $200 million aid cut, which is the right thing to do. For example, Nguyen Phu Trong, Nguyen Phu Trong works for the Chinese communists, not for the people of Vietnam. The Chinese communists totally control Nguyen Phu, Nguyen Phu Trong, Nguyen Thi Kim Ngang. Yet we still continue to send money back to the country. Doing this is just like Bill Gates and Nancy Pelosi are helping the organization who works for the Chinese communists. We have to do like what the President of the United States is doing. That is, he says he will join 20 rich countries in the world, and these countries will turn their backs on the WHO and will set up a team which will be better than the WHO. It will truly serve the world community, not to be Xi Jinping's minions to hide this plague. To me, what President Trump does is absolutely right. You see, the 10 rich CEOs knew, so they resigned and sold off their shares. These big CEOs, led by Bill Gates, resigned in early January. They knew the crisis and the danger, yet still spoke about President Trump on January 27 as he ordered not to let the Chinese people come into the United States to prevent the spread of the pandemic. They said that President Trump was discriminating against Chinese people and that he had to open the U.S. airport to welcome Chinese people. As President Donald Trump called the coronavirus as Chinese virus, they also said that he was discriminatory. When they saw New York City had so many deaths, the infection in the United States was up to 500,000 people, where the death toll was up to 30,000. They again blamed President Trump for closing the borders too slowly. Nancy Pelosi and Bill Gates are great at having two tongues, changing their words without shame. For a long time, people look at Bill Gates as a good person, a good CEO, and a good billionaire. But you have to consider whether his work is good or not. I will answer the next question. Dear vulnerable TikTok LAI, we are a group of people who are living in King Gang. As we remember, April 14th is Nguyen Phu Trong's birthday. Last year, Phu Trong was in Hanoi receiving many expensive birthday gifts from his subordinate party members. Later on, Phu Trong, on his birthday, went on an official trip in King Gang and suffered a stroke at a factory in King Gang City. However, this year on April 14th of 2020, it was also his birthday. Why didn't Phu Trong organize a party to receive gifts, gold and dollars from his junior officers as bribery income? Instead, he was silent. Vulnerable, please explain why didn't Phu Trong take advantage of birthday to receive gifts in dollars? Sincerely yours, a group of Buddhist followers who are living in King Gang City. I already told you before this, that Nguyen Phu Trong is the second or third replacement. And whether he's dead or alive won't benefit the nation at all. As you can see, a group of Buddhist followers in King Gang mentioned that April 14th is his birthday. They remember very well because they live in King Gang. After Phu Trong celebrate his last birthday and collect money from all the provincial commissioners, he went to King Gang to inspect Nguyen Thang Dang and Nguyen Thang Dang's son, the secretary of King Dang's province. However, this year he did not appear. You already know the reason, but let me tell you. He was quiet because of two issues. The first problem is that he is already weak. And the second is because the Chinese Communists no longer needs him. The Chinese recognize that the puppet Phu Trong is no longer useful. They already controlled the whole Vietnam through minions like Nguyen Phu and Nguyen Thi Kim Ngang. Also, I have said that before, the political power in Vietnam is not clear. The Prime Minister banned rice export, but the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Commerce ordered the food bank to sell rice to China in a rush. In fact, the amount of Vietnamese rice sold to China is like dropping a grain of salt into the ocean. The amount of rice cannot support the Chinese, but the Chinese Communists have blocked the upstream of the Mekong River in China to dry up the Mekong Delta. The Chinese Communists knew that if Vietnam still had this rice, Vietnam would not suffer from hunger in late 2020 and early 2021. Therefore, the Chinese Communists ordered Nguyen Phu to announce on the radio to ban rice export, but the Ministry of Industry and Trade ordered the urgent export of 400,000 tons of rice to Chinese Communists. On this day, a year later, Nguyen Phu Trong has received gifts and went to inspect in Kingang, and this year he is nowhere to be seen. This is your answer as clear as daylight. Whether he is alive or dead, he doesn't do any good for Vietnam. Phu Trong is like the director of the WHO, Trudeau's, only serves Chinese communists and Xi Jinping's benefits. If you can ask a question, you should be able to answer it, especially since those are resident of Kingang City. You have seen the glorious appearance of Phu Trong in 2019, and this year is quite silent. You already know. In the communist country, the birthday is a day when the leaders receive presents or receive official brides from junior officers without a reputation. Another question about the issue is that the Chinese aircraft carrier and its escort vessels traveled as a very large fleet. They went from northern Japan via Taiwan Strait to the southeastern sea. They had passed the Parcel and Spratly Islands and are currently present in the waters of Malaysia. As I know, according to U.S. scientists who design and built aircraft carriers, the aircraft carrier Liaoning is running on diesel and only store fuel up to 6 days. Without refueling, the vessel will be dead as stone in the ocean on day 7. Therefore, a so-called logistic flagship railed behind Liaoning's aircraft carrier. Only the Chinese communists have the logistic flagship vessels. If you don't believe me, you can search. The logistic ship was on a special oil tanker. However, this ship only managed to hold the reserve fuel for 4 additional days. Thus, the aircraft carrier of the Chinese communists, even though there is even a logistic tanker to supply, the Liaoning still runs only for 10 days, unlike a U.S. aircraft carrier powered by nuclear power. The nuclear reactor can generate energy for decades without refueling. So you can see the Liaoning aircraft carrier is a joke to the USS 7th Fleet. I want to make it clear that in my opinion, President Tsai Ing-wen and the President and the U.S. President want the war to take place in the Taiwan Strait. The Chinese communists always bluff to attack Taiwan. However, for thousands of years, the tactics of winning the war are the element of surprise, not the element of shouting. The Communist Party has a habit. If they are strong, they would attack without intimate and informing their opponent. As you can recall, in 1979, when China sent troops to teach the Vietnamese communists a lesson, they did not announce the attack. So when the Chinese communists are strong, they will silently infiltrate. They are not foolish to shout out loud when they attack. The factor of victory is the element of surprise. Any military strategist must rely on this. It was impossible for the Chinese to attack Taiwan because they keep threatening sending their aircraft into the Taiwanese airspace, so Taiwan launched their F-16 to chase them off. China also had their warship to invade the Taiwanese water for military exercise in the Strait of Taiwan. President Tsai Ing-wen announced that the U.S. destroyer would pass through the Chinese naval exercise zone in 2 days, yet the Chinese still did not show any response. That clearly indicated that Chinese communists never dared to fight Taiwan, but the Chinese would choose a battlefield that is furthest from their territory. They would choose the Philippines because Philippines is a small country compared to China. The Philippines has over 10,000 islands, and the Philippines has canceled the U.S. Treaty of Protection if other countries invade. There is no need to attack Vietnam because Vietnam is now in the hands of the Chinese communists. With a few $1 million placed into the hands of Phu Trong, Nguyen Phu and Kim Ngang, there will be no need for war. So I had said previously, when there was a war, Phu Quoc Island, Kang Sang Island, and the Vietnamese coast would be the supply base for the Chinese Communist military. The LAI fleet of the Chinese Communists have reached Malaysian waters. They are preparing to attack Malaysia. Malaysia is further away, so the Chinese might choose it as their battlefields. The first advance to attack Malaysia, because it is a very small country. Certainly, Malaysia cannot protect a small island from Chinese communists. Do you remember when the Malaysian Prime Minister ordered the firing at a Chinese ship, and they didn't even care? If fighting Malaysia, the United States would protect it because Malaysia is a U.S. ally. The United States will intervene, but at that time, the Chinese Communist has already occupied several islands of Malaysia. China will then sign a truce to surrender and pay damages to Malaysia, but retain the Chinese Communist Party. Madame Tsai Ing-wen only changed the passport to the Republic of Taiwan. She did not change the status and declared independence. And she still has the ability to connect with the Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee members, military regions in Xinjiang, the military regions in the north, who are not following Xi Jinping's order to make a coup. Xi Jinping's general ordered him to do something so China doesn't lose its pride, because the United States repeatedly provoke, and the Chinese still do not dare to touch Taiwan. In a way, Taiwan quietly declared independence because it has a U.S. embassy in Taiwan, a changed passport, and their airline. Xi Jinping declared in the past that if Taiwan declares independence, he would teach a lesson. That day had come, and without a war, his subordinate personnel would be frustrated and start a coup. However, a battlefield that is located furthest away from China is the best option. Malaysia has no chance to fight against the Chinese communists. Malaysia has its own history that is so different from Chinese communists. Malaysia can be a battlefield to relieve domestic anger and struggle. So once again, I am Master Thich Tom Lai. I support the halting of $450 million in aid to the World Health Organization. We cannot support a director that works for Xi Jinping and does not work for the world public health. This person put the benefit of Chinese communists above the people in the world. We also need to reconsider the work of Bill Gates, because he knew the dangers of the coronavirus. He resigned as the CEO position in January along with 10 other big U.S. CEOs. Bill Gates also gave aid to Xi Jinping and condemned President Donald Trump. Nancy Pelosi and him against the order of President Trump to prevent the Chinese communists from entering at the U.S. airport on January 27, 2020. They also criticized President Trump for calling the COVID-19 Chinese virus. They said he was a stigma. However, Nancy and Bill Gates now voice their opposition to the President of the United States for acting too late, not to close the borders earlier. That President Trump acted too slowly to cause New Yorkers from suffering from heavy damage. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who is for the sake of the Americans, and who is for their own personal interests? You can decide for yourself. Respectfully yours. Ladies and gentlemen, we must comply with the isolation regulation to keep the infection from spreading. We are Vietnamese, and we have U.S. citizenship. We live here, so we have to do everything to stand behind the President of the United States to contribute. If we don't do anything for the benefits of the United States, we should not go against the President of the United States at this period. At this point, we should support the President who put his benefits after the interests of the American people. And the death toll of more than 30,000. This is a problem that the United States never ignores. I do not know about other presidents of the United States. I don't know if Obama is still the U.S. president. I don't know if Obama was still the U.S. president, he would do anything at all. But I do know that the nature of President Donald Trump, the Chinese communists will pay the price that made 30,000 innocent civilians of the United States unjustly dead and cost the U.S. economy millions and billions of dollars. That is a price that the Chinese communists must pay for the world. And the United States is not just cutting the money of the WHO. It will cut the funds for the UN organization. This organization has been corrupted by the Chinese communists for over 20 years. Do you know that the Chinese communists use money to bribe all the leaders of small countries so that when there's a problem, the Chinese communists still earns the majorities of the votes? They won because of bribery, not by righteous cause. That is the next step that the United States will move forward, cutting off the aid to the United Nations for not serving the international community, but doing work for Chinese communists. As of now, not just the United States, but all countries look at China with the eyes of the enemy. Not only the Americans have died because of the Chinese virus, but the Italians, the Germans, the French, the Spanish, and many people around the world have died from the uncaring act of the director of the World Health Organization, Mr. Tedros. Sincerely yours. I will try to update what I know to support the President of the United States, as well as to continue to work to protect the lives of Americans and assets, so that the damages needed to contribute for all Americans, not just President Donald Trump alone.
Và hiện tại tất cả các nước trong khối G20 đều nhìn Tàu Cộng với con mắt kẻ thù, chứ không phải chỉ có Hoa Kỳ. Và hiện tại không phải chỉ có dân Hoa Kỳ mới chết vì Chinese virus, dân Ý, dân Đức, dân Pháp, dân Tây Ban Nha và rất nhiều người ở trên thế giới đã chết vì cái sự làm ăn tắc trách của giám đốc tổ chức sức khỏe là Tedros. Trân trọng kính chào quý vị. Tôi cố gắng cập nhật những cái tin tức gì mà tôi biết được để ủng hộ cho Tổng thống Hoa Kỳ, cũng như tiếp tục làm công việc bảo vệ sinh mạng, tài sản của Hoa Kỳ. Cho nên sự thiệt hại này phải cần sự đóng góp của tất cả người dân Hoa Kỳ, chứ không phải một mình Tổng thống Donald Trump đâu. Phải không quý vị? Trân trọng kính chào.